When aluminum grew scarce and metal factories were overwhelmed, designers turned to timber with serious engineering intent. What follows covers every significant wooden aircraft that flew during the Second World War. The de Havilland Mosquito. The de Havilland Mosquito was the most successful wooden aircraft of the war and among the most capable of any material. Built from a balsa wood and birch plywood sandwich construction, it was powered by twin Rolls-Royce Merlin engines reaching around 660 kilometers per hour. Fast enough to outrun most fighters, it served as a bomber, night fighter, pathfinder, photo reconnaissance platform, and intruder. Its wooden construction allowed production outside conventional aircraft factories, and its performance made it one of the most versatile aircraft of the entire conflict. The de Havilland Tiger Moth. The Tiger Moth was a British biplane trainer of wooden and fabric construction that served as the primary elementary training aircraft for Commonwealth pilots throughout the war. Light, simple, and forgiving, it introduced tens of thousands of student pilots to flight across Britain, Canada, Australia, and beyond. Its wooden structure required no strategic materials and could be maintained with basic tools. It was not a combat aircraft, but its contribution to Allied aircrew production made it operationally essential to the entire war effort. The Airspeed Oxford. The Airspeed Oxford was a British twin-engine advanced trainer of wooden construction used to develop multi-engine handling skills in pilots destined for bomber and transport duties. It served Commonwealth flying schools throughout the war in large numbers, providing the intermediate training step between basic instruction and operational conversion. Its wooden airframe allowed production by manufacturers without specialized metal aircraft experience, contributing to the rapid expansion of training capacity that the war demanded. The Miles Master. The Miles Master was a British monoplane advanced trainer constructed primarily of wood, used to bridge the gap between basic training aircraft and frontline fighters. Powered by various inline engines depending on variant, it prepared pilots for the handling characteristics of modern combat aircraft. It served RAF flying schools throughout the war and was produced in large numbers from timber construction that utilized the woodworking expertise of manufacturers outside the conventional aviation industry. The Miles Magister. The Miles Magister was a British monoplane elementary trainer of all-wood construction that served as the RAF's standard initial trainer alongside the Tiger Moth. Low wing and enclosed, it prepared student pilots for the monoplane configuration they would encounter in operational service. Its wooden construction was straightforward to produce and maintain, and it equipped flying schools across Britain and the Commonwealth throughout the war years. The Bücker Bu 181 Bestmann. The German Bücker Bu 181 Bestmann was a low-wing monoplane trainer of wooden construction used by the Luftwaffe for elementary and liaison pilot training. Clean and pleasant to fly, it was produced in large numbers by manufacturers across German-occupied Europe. Its wooden airframe conserved aluminum for combat aircraft production while providing an effective training platform. It served training establishments throughout the war and was license-produced in Czechoslovakia and the Netherlands. The Focke-Wulf FW-44 Stieglitz. The German Focke-Wulf FW-44 Stieglitz was a German biplane trainer of wood and fabric construction used for primary pilot instruction in Luftwaffe flying schools. Stable, reliable, and straightforward to maintain, it equipped training units throughout the war. Like most primary trainers, its wooden construction was a practical choice that freed aluminum production for frontline types. It served alongside more modern monoplane trainers in the German training system from the war's opening to its close. The Gotha GO-242. The Gotha GO-242 was a German military glider of largely wooden construction designed to transport troops and equipment. With a high wing layout and a rear loading ramp for cargo, it carried up to 21 fully equipped soldiers or equivalent freight. It served in the Mediterranean theater and on the Eastern Front, used in supply operations and the evacuation of encircled forces. Its wooden construction allowed production by manufacturers without metal fabrication capability, and it served as the primary German transport glider alongside the larger Me-321, the DFS-230. The DFS-230 was Germany's primary assault glider of the early war years, constructed of steel tube framing covered with fabric and wood. It carried 9 troops and was used in the assault on the Belgian fortress of Eben-Emael in 1940, the invasion of Crete in 1941, and the rescue of Mussolini from Gran Sasso in 1943. Small and maneuverable, it could land in confined spaces that larger gliders could not approach. Its light construction made it fragile on rough ground, but highly effective in the precision assault role. The Me-321 Gigant. The Me-321 Gigant was an enormous German cargo glider of mixed wood and steel tube construction, designed to carry heavy equipment, including tanks and artillery. Its wingspan exceeded that of most powered aircraft, and it required a towing combination of 3 Bf-110 fighters or a specially modified HE-111 to become airborne. In service on the Eastern Front, it proved difficult to operate and suffered losses from towing accidents and landing mishaps. It was later converted to the powered Me-323 variant to address its operational limitations. The Waco CG-4A Hadrian. The Waco CG-4A was the primary American military glider of the war, constructed of steel tube framing with wooden floor sections and fabric covering. It carried 13 troops or equivalent cargo and featured a hinged nose section that allowed direct loading of jeeps and light artillery. It served in every major Allied airborne operation from Sicily in 1943 through the Rhine crossing in 1945. Its wooden and fabric construction allowed production by furniture manufacturers and joinery shops across the United States in large numbers. The Airspeed Horsa. The Airspeed Horsa was Britain's primary troop-carrying glider, built almost entirely of wood. It carried up to 25 troops or a jeep and artillery piece through its removable tail section. It flew in the Sicily landings, the Normandy invasion, the Arnhem operation, and the Rhine crossing. Its all-wood construction allowed production by furniture manufacturers and joinery shops across Britain, and it was built in large numbers that reflected the industrial logic of using timber when aluminum was needed elsewhere. The General Aircraft Hamilcar. The General Aircraft Hamilcar was Britain's largest operational glider built of wood to carry heavy equipment, including the Tetrarch light tank. Its size required a 4-engine Halifax or Stirling bomber to tow it, and it delivered armored vehicles directly onto the landing zone without intermediate unloading. It flew at Normandy and the Rhine crossing, delivering tanks that could provide immediate fire support to airborne forces after landing. Its wooden construction was the only practical approach to building a structure of its size under wartime material constraints. The Antonov A-7. The Soviet Antonov A-7 was a military glider of wooden construction used in supply and troop transport operations on the Eastern Front. It carried 7 troops or equivalent cargo and was towed by DB-3 or PE-2 aircraft. It flew resupply missions to partisan forces operating behind German lines, a role that required precision delivery to improvised landing zones in forest clearings. Its wooden construction suited the Soviet manufacturing environment, where timber processing was far more accessible than aluminum production in the conditions of wartime industrial dislocation. The Yakovlev Yak-1. The Yakovlev Yak-1 was a Soviet fighter of mixed construction, metal forward fuselage with a wooden rear fuselage and wooden wing spars covered in fabric. Reaching around 580 kilometers per hour and carrying cannon and machine gun armament, it was a capable and competitive fighter in Soviet service from 1941. Its mixed wooden construction reflected the deliberate Soviet design philosophy of using materials that could be processed by factories across the Ural industrial region, where metal fabrication capacity was less available than woodworking expertise following the westward industrial evacuation of 1941. The Yakovlev Yak-3. The Yak-3 was a refined development of the Yak lineage, retaining the mixed wood and metal construction of its predecessors while achieving speeds near 650 kilometers per hour. Lighter and more agile than earlier Soviet fighters, it was regarded by German pilots as one of the most dangerous opponents encountered on the Eastern Front. Its wooden rear fuselage and wing components were a deliberate design choice that simplified production and maintenance in forward conditions, and it flew in large numbers in the final campaigns of the Eastern Front. The Yakovlev Yak-7. The Yak-7 was a two-seat trainer variant of the Yak-1 that evolved into a single-seat combat fighter through operational development. Retaining the mixed wooden and metal construction standard to the Yak family, it served both as a transition trainer and a frontline fighter in Soviet units. Its wooden construction made it straightforward to repair and maintain in the field conditions of the Eastern Front, where aircraft were often serviced in the open under extreme weather. It was a practical aircraft shaped by the practical demands of Soviet wartime aviation. The Yakovlev Yak-9. The Yak-9 was the most produced Soviet fighter of the war, again built on the mixed wooden and metal construction philosophy that characterized the entire Yak family. Reaching around 600 kilometers per hour in standard configuration and carrying cannon armament, it flew in enormous numbers from 1942 to the end of the war. Its wooden rear fuselage and wing construction were integral to its producibility. The Yak-9 could be built and maintained in conditions that would have defeated more complex all-metal designs, and its sheer numbers contributed significantly to Soviet air superiority in the war's final years. The Lavochkin Lag-3. The Lavochkin Lag-3 was a Soviet fighter built almost entirely of wood, a delta wood composite of resin-impregnated birch that was heavier than aluminum but required no strategic metal. Reaching around 775 kilometers per hour, it was sluggish compared to its German opponents and gained an unfortunate reputation among pilots in the early Eastern Front campaign. Its wooden construction was nonetheless a deliberate and rational response to Soviet industrial conditions, and it served in large numbers while its successor designs corrected the performance deficiencies that wooden construction alone could not overcome. The Lavochkin La-5. The La-5 emerged from the Lag-3 design when the Shvetsov Az-82 radial engine replaced the earlier inline unit, transforming a struggling fighter into a competitive one. Retaining much of the Lag-3's wooden structure, the La-5 reached around 630 kilometers per hour and proved a genuine match for the Bf-109G and Fw-190 on the Eastern Front. The wooden construction that had been a liability in the Lag-3 became an asset in the La-5, contributing to a lighter, more maneuverable aircraft that could be produced and repaired with available Soviet manufacturing resources. The Heinkel HE-162 Salamander. The Heinkel HE-162 was Germany's jet-powered fighter of the war's final months, and it relied heavily on wood to compensate for aluminum shortages in German industry. Its fuselage was of conventional metal construction, but its wings were largely wooden, a decision driven by material availability rather than engineering preference. Powered by a BMW 003 turbojet, it reached around 840 kilometers per hour. The wooden wing components caused structural problems and contributed to several accidents, demonstrating the limits of wood as a structural material in an aircraft operating at jet speeds and stresses. The Arsenal VG-33. The French Arsenal VG-33 was a fighter designed around wooden construction as a deliberate material conservation strategy. Reaching around 558 kilometers per hour from a Hispano-Suiza engine, it was fast, clean, and competitive. Only a handful were completed before the armistice ended French production. Its wooden construction was not a compromise but a considered engineering choice, and its performance demonstrated that timber could produce fighters fully equal to metal contemporaries when the design was handled with sufficient rigor. Wood did not win the war, but it kept the aircraft coming when metal could not. From the Mosquito to the Yak family, timber construction sustained air power across every theater when aluminum was a commodity no nation could afford to waste.